welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel. As always, I'm joined by Bubba Byron.
Good morning, people. Good evening, wherever you're listening to this. I am glad to be living in an era where pro wrestling is cool again. How about you, Nick McDaniel?
Yeah, man, it's picking up steam here big time. I mean, obviously, it's been on a roll for, it seems like, a few months now. But with all the momentum, dude, I mean, we're heading into WrestleMania. We just had the big, pay-per-view for AEW Sting's last match. Just all kinds of hot stuff and stuff going on, man. And look, the indies are on fire. It's not just, it's everything, man. And look, so every week now, we're catching our show every week on a weekly basis, as always, dropping on Thursdays. Bi-weekly, we are doing the Tapped In, the indie show, which, of course, we're dropping. Look, either show, whatever, we always tell you, look, either go to patreon.com/tappedoutpod, become a member at YouTube, youtube.com. The handle is @tappedoutpod, shockingly. Like the page, subscribe to the page, turn your notifications on, become a member on either page, and you can actually get both of those shows early as soon as, basically the way it works, man, as soon as we record, I go ahead and I upload it as soon as possible to both of those, so you'll have it. And then, of course, it drops regularly on the Thursday slots as normal. So we always tell you, man, I think Patreon, because I get it. Everybody's like, oh, well, behind the paywall at Patreon, most of the stuff is free eventually. It's to get it early, get it extra. We put some stuff up there, some audio stuff. Look, you get a kick out of this. We dropped on Patreon. Heath did just his first impressions. He had never seen a Southern Fried show in person. So he recorded a thing on the way home.
Fun.
Yeah, I think we'll some more cool stuff like that.
Southern Fried's like almost a family experience for us, and taking Heath along was unique. He doesn't get to experience that on a monthly basis like we do, and it was fun to take him and see what he thought about it.
No, 100%, man, 100%. So. Absolutely, man. We're always saying, like, look, we appreciate you subscribing. If you're an audio podcast listener, YouTube, Patreon, wherever, we appreciate it. But Myron, it's time. Got to get into all those stuff this week. It was a huge week. How
about The Rock being back, Nick? Bringing back almost an Attitude Era. Whether he has to do it on social media or he has to do it on Smackdown.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's like the picture for WrestleMania. Let's backpedal up a couple of weeks ago where we kind of had concerns. Like, we had some concerns. Like, Cody says he's going to pass on his spot. Fans push back. They pivot. Now Cody says he wants his title shot. Like, as we like to say, let's see how it plays out, and how do they fix some of this? Like, there were some issues there that I think that need to be ironed out.
It was
a wrinkly shirt. Let's iron out the wrinkles here a little bit.
I'm a wrinkly shirt person.
Over the last couple weeks, I'm nodding my head, going, "All right, you're getting there. You got
crowds, sell out crowds, people excited."
Well, how about they just simply are explaining it? That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is they're explaining it. They're getting us there, and that was a plus. And like you said, that addresses the Cody coming out, and he challenges Rock 1-on-1.
Don't talk about my dog,
right? But that was that's the promo, the 21-minute promo that Rock puts out. Like, first of all, how unique to do a 21-minute promo on social media. But it was edgy language.
Imagine social media during the Attitude Era, Nick. Imagine how insane that would have been.
A lot more cussing.
Imagine digging back and forth, trying to find The Rock and Stone Cold and Foley and all these other guys and their promos. Oh my God, that would have been nuts. And now we've got The Rock doing it. The inspiration. Oh man.
It's different. Exciting. That was for sure. I'll throw in there though. I don't know if you caught. We're going to address a little bit, but we're going to put a pin in the social media part, because after we talk a little bit about Raw, I want to address something that happened on social media following Raw that I thought was entertaining. But yeah, Cody, Rock does this 21-minute promo. He goes into the depths of it. He even goes a little inside baseball, which is, here's the crazy thing. When it's done on TV, you're kind of like, you just went over the heads of a lot of the audience. When he does it on social media, I don't know that you are. Like, that is where that internet wrestling community lives, right? That's their wheelhouse. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the social media. So play into things like how, he's a top of the food chain when it comes to the business of WWE TKO, things like that. He takes a dig at Dave LaGreca on Busted Open about being one of the lead Cody crybabies. So, I mean, that kind of stuff was cool that he played into a lot of that to dig and dig and dig and dig and dig. But yeah, then there's the, man-to-man, heart-to-heart Cody, like, fuck your story. Like, the language. A lot of people were, reacting to and look, somebody's like 21 minutes, a little long. Well, apparently Rock was concerned he wasn't going to get a lot of time on SmackDown. So therefore, let's take advantage of social media. And it's more depth to the story. If I only get 7, I can get 21. If he tried to jam that 21 minutes of promo in a 7-minute segment, it's pretty rushed. And you don't get those time chants that you were talking about. Like the fans were with him on SmackDown. But lo and behold, Myron, they give him 40 fucking minutes on SmackDown.
Oh, it was beautiful, Nick. I was sitting there and, I don't always watch the programs live because I got crazy stuff going on, family. My mother-in-law is in town from Maryland. So I'm running around like crazy, going to dinner, going and doing all this stuff. God, they want to eat Mexican food at the drop of a hat. I like Mexican food, so it's not that big a deal. But so I'm like, I'll get to watch this in a little while. And all of a sudden, social media just goes nuts about this promo. Social media goes nuts about what's happening on SmackDown. I'm like, oh, hang on. Give me a minute. And it just gets to the point where everybody is blowing it up with spoilers. And that's like a lot more than usual. I mean, it's usually a good sign if you start seeing something, but I couldn't wait to watch it because people were going nuts about it. So I come home and get to the point where I can sit down and watch it. And I was blown away by what The Rock was doing out there. And Nick kept going, look at Roman's face, look at Roman's face, look at Roman's face. And Roman had that, and Roman was getting it. It's seeing Roman get this. Paul in the ring. Rock cutting this beautiful promo. And when Roman grabbed Paul Heyman's wrist, when Roman grabbed The Rock's wrist, I reacted in a way that network wrestling television hasn't caused me to react in a long, long, long time. That was special. That was intense. Nick, they're doing the best thing they've done in a long time. And I've cursed the Bloodline storyline, and I've been sick and tired of it for years. And now all of a sudden, it's the best damn thing in wrestling. By far. I got tired of it. I'm overwhelmed. I'm happy. I'm super happy. I'm excited. I can't wait for SmackDown. I know I'm going to an indie show. We're going to an indie show Friday night. But I've got to watch it. I can't wait to see it.
They got Wi-Fi where we're going. So we'll see it. We'll probably see it on the little pull. I'll break the phone out in a heartbeat if I have to watch a little segment there. But yeah, dude, like that promo on SmackDown was so many layers between reactions, all the little things along the way, Roman's facials, Paul's reactions, even to stipulations that Rock's giving. Like one, he basically they counter offer. Like Rock basically poo-poos on the fact that he's not wrestling Cody one-on-one. It's not going to happen. But Roman and I will wrestle you and your boy, your little friend there, Seth Rollins. We win. Bloodline rules. Anything goes.
Bloodline
you
rules.
Win. We all stay out of it. No interference by the Bloodline. And you could see Paul Heyman's face as he's realizing a win-win for Cody. I think you like to think that the Bloodline rules match favors him. I don't really know that it does. Obviously, we've been on this train of since day one that this is a conspiracy by Cody and The Rock to get that title off of Roman. And I think that's where we're going. I think here's the beauty of it is if I'm going to ask you in a second, Myron, so ponder the thought, who do you think wins? But if night one, if Cody wins, if Cody and Seth win, completely out, right? They can't do anything. That means the Bloodline can't interfere. Cody gets a fair one-on-one shot. Boom. There's just pass. Bloodline wins. I don't know. There's a story to that. Because here's the thing. You want the conspiracy theory behind that one?
What's that?
Somehow Rock takes that pinfall. Roman blames Rock for having to have a clean, straight one-on-one match with Cody then. So you've got a win-win. If he wins, I got to beat Cody straight up. And it's your fault, Rock. So there's where they're fighting. Now that's why they're mad. The other avenue you can go is you can say, no, Bloodline does win. By the way, I'll get into why I think that's a bad idea in a second, because I think that's probably what happens, by the way. But I think it's a bad idea because let's go ahead and get into it. If Bloodline wins, you're not pinning Cody. You're pinning Seth. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why is that a problem?
Maybe not.
Because
that would cause more drama for the second night.
It could. Look, let us know. tappedoutpod@gmail.com.
Cody's already hurt, or not hurt, but he's already damaged. The next night, he's got to take them all on by himself. The whole Bloodline. And that would be a bigger place for The Rock to turn.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Who knows? So the questions at hand here are, if the Bloodline wins, would you pin Cody or Seth? Part 1. 2, if you pin, do you go that route because does Rock pin Cody to even further suck Roman into the trap of it's a trap. That he gets him. So that's something that, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. We'd love to know your answer.
Admiral Rock Bar.
Because if Seth takes a pin, I got a bad feeling Seth's taking a pin on night 2, either by Drew McIntyre or by Damian Priest cashing in. And so that's going to fall into the Seth taking 2 pins back-to-back nights if you go that route.
Seth isn't walking out with his title. That's just my feeling. I have a feeling we're going to get the best WrestleMania ever. I think we're going to get it amazing.
It's going to be awesome, and I cannot wait to see it. The only other thing I wanted to bring up, I told you I was coming back to this. I'm pulling the pin out of the note about following, the promo on they had on Raw later that night on social media. I don't know if you saw. Seth Rollins says something. Drew McIntyre fires back at him. He's like, "Bitch, where was that energy earlier tonight?" Then he responds back to something. And then they turn around. The irony is they fire back, and then all of a sudden Ricochet chimes in and goes, "We just cussing now? Like, are we allowed to cut?" Like, basically asking, like, "Are we just cussing now? Like, this is okay," kind of thing. I thought that was hysterically
What
funny.
social media format are they going to be doing this on, so I can just tune into it?
That was Twitter. That was on Twitter that was going on. They were going back and forth.
I gotta redo my Twitter. I was just looking at.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that was that whole thing. But then, of course, the big news broke. Actually, the funny part was we had one, and then the other one broke right before we started recording. They announced, well, let's get the other one, because, look, first one, Paul Heyman's announced he's going into he's going to be inducted into WWE Hall of Fame.
Really? In Philly?
Bull Nakano was announced literally minutes before we started recording. Yes. So congrats to her. So I don't have a ton of digging on.
Yeah, that's one thing we're not strong on is her past. Not my strong suit. I'm very certain she has a great history in women's wrestling. Might be something we can cover more lately, or talk to somebody who knows more about. Paul Heyman going in Philly. Paul Heyman turning it down the first time he was offered Hall of Fame because he still considered himself to be active. Paul Heyman, the man behind ECW, the man from WCW, the man who has been involved with so much in professional wrestling over the years, the greatest manager, to me, the greatest manager. I mean, there's been other managers. I'm a huge Jim Cornette fan, but Heyman's got such a legacy and done so much, managed so many different people, so many different companies. Who puts him in, Nick? Who puts Paul Heyman in the Hall of Fame?
We've waffled a lot on this one. We were making cases for a lot of people, and I would think it's either going to be.
It's a line of Hall of Famers. Just a
It
line
is.
of Hall of Famers to put him in.
Because look, and I'm not making the joke here when I say this. Like it's not going to be Brock. It potentially people have to look. I get it, guys. Things are going to change too. By the way, I want to preface this. We discussed some of this, and I didn't think about telling you this part. It's a TV show as well. They're producing this content for Peacock, the Hall of Fame. However, the Triple H regime seems a little more in tune with wrestling and history of wrestling, and not just about just only the TV product. That makes sense?
Yes.
And look, let's be blunt. Bull Nakano making it. I think I'm going to completely. I think that's who Medusa beat, by the way, to win her championship. So anyway, and I'm familiar with her wrestling. It's just I was vague on my memory of I think that's who she beat for her. Medusa beat. Anyway, I think that's a point of showing that he does care about the history of wrestling and stuff as well. But if you're going from a production like, hey, it's a TV product and we need to put that out there, I would say what matters is, look, do something like Roman. But do we not want to damage Roman's persona and do it that way? So there's that. Look, you go down the ECW rabbit hole. It could be Tommy Dreamer. It could be Bully Ray. It could be blah, blah, insert just any, like you said. Yeah. By the way, Bully's a great one. I don't know why. I just think he would be a great one. I think as far as talking, he's got the history with Paul. He's got the history in Philly from ECW. So I think there's a good tie there. Dreamer could be good. We'll see. I think the one that everybody keeps coming out, there's two names that keep coming up that I think are kind of weird in a way, but I think would be really, really good for television. CM Punk's not going to be at WrestleMania in the sense of he's not going to get a match like we had hoped. That's how you get him involved, and because he was a Paul Heyman guy for a while.
Yeah,
he could be the one to help. He could induct him, and that way you get him out on a product during WrestleMania. The other one is Stone. Yeah, he is popular. The other one's Stone Cold Steve Austin. With no Paul Heyman, there is no Stone Cold because he doesn't have that little transition period between WCW to WWF at the time, in ECW where he kind of got really good at that kind of stuff, And both of those are really good for television as well, by the way.
Yeah. And I think that's probably your best deal. You get a lot of pop. He's Stone Cold Steve Austin, for Christ's sake. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin. That's good TV right there, just in itself. Good business. I think that would be the best thing. And you could highlight what Paul Heyman could do for a person. I think that's your guy. I think that's your guy right there. And also, Stone Cold has a better relationship with the company technically than CM Punk does. And I would be more comfortable putting Stone Cold on stage in a situation like that than Punk. So, Myron's paranoia goes with Stone Cold. But who else are we going to put in? Who else? Demolition?
I know they always get to talk. They,
I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
You got to get a tag team. Bray Wyatt, I think he's probably going to go in. Maybe Luger.
I think here's my challenges, by the way. I think if you have a year, look, Bray seems to be the one that everybody pushes for really heavy, and I'm not, obviously, I agree, right? I don't know. This is, by the way, I'm telling you, I don't think this is necessarily right. I don't think you're going to get Bray and Luger in the same year.
Okay.
Again, things may be different under this regime, but having somebody who's deceased go in, you get their family up there, or there's somebody that receives it on, like, does Bo Dallas come out and receive that for Bray if he goes in? Maybe, I don't know.
Or IRS himself.
Right. Yeah. So like I said, there's that. Then Vince has always had there was always this thing of you don't do two wrestlers who are deceased going in the same year. Kind of, it's a downer that they're not there.
One woman, one tag team, one deceased / crippled wrestler.
So here's the thing: do you do Bray and Luger, who's going to come out in a wheelchair, in the same year? I don't have it. Look, I clearly don't have the issue with it. But if it's a television thing and it's something they had in the past, do they move past that? So we would love to know, who do you think's going in? tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Did you have any others that you were thinking that that are?
Do we put in two women in the same year? Because Victoria is going to have to go in eventually. She's great. Mickie James is a perennial favorite of mine. She's going to have to go in eventually, especially with Aldis working.
Could be, but it's
what's TV.
Is she still working anywhere? Is, blah blah blah.
Look at William Regal. I mean, he's going to go in. He's phenomenal in what he's been able to do for the company. There's some, and DDP gets the Warrior Award. That should be the DDP Award, for Christ's sake. I mean, the Warrior does not exemplify anything compared to what DDP has done for wrestling. And DDP has done for old wrestlers with problems and help people get their shit back together. DDP should get that award, and it should be called the DDP Award. Or something like that. I don't know. The self high five, or whatever you want to call it. And as far as celebrity, who you got? Cyndi Lauper. How about Cyndi Lauper?
I thought she was in. Is she not in?
I thought she was in too, but then again, I saw some people picking her. So
I mean, there's you could go outside the box. You could do. Floyd Mayweather's not going to do it, but he was a good act when they
Muhammad
had him.
Ali.
No, you're not going to same issue you got with Luger. And so anyway, I don't know that the celebrity one's always an off the wall one, typically for me. That when they put them in, because I don't even get how they randomly pick somebody.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the NXT show.
First and foremost, I'll preface this with, I'm not a big music guy. We know that everybody that knows me knows that at this point, but I want to ask this question. Didn't Lemmy die?
Yeah, Lemmy said.
And Duck
Lemmy.
Motorhead.
Oh, God, yeah. Triple H.
There's my sleeper pick for somebody going. I get it as he's passed and all that, but like, have Triple H come out and receive that award.
Triple H is a huge Lemmy fan. Yeah.
Induct him and accept it. Like,
I'm getting the shirts, getting the shirts. I'm a huge Motorhead fan. Yes, definitely. And Motorhead can be scary at times, Nick. They do some pretty scary music. And you know what else is pretty scary? Our friends. You got that scary podcast.
Yeah, that's
What's
right.
What's the name of that scary podcast again?
It's William Scary Things.
Ugh.
Are you a fan of the strange, mysterious, and unusual? Do you enjoy stories told firsthand about creepy experiences? UFO encounters, ghostly apparitions, near-death and afterlife experiences, even parallel universes? Well, if so, you need to check out the YouTube channel William Scary Things. It is a new, albeit determined channel. William was influenced as a kid by books, movies, stories, all that were passed down by his friends and family, and they all had a creepy theme. What started out as a scary story narration is now a long-form interview process with people who have experienced weird and unusual things firsthand. Do you want to hear about a house with the former owners that were laid to rest right in the front yard? Yeah, told by yours truly. Well, if so, William Scary Things has you covered. How about a witness to the Phoenix Lights, probably the most renowned UFO sighting in modern history? Maybe you want to hear about a first-hand encounter with a ghostly apparition late one night with a photo to boot. No problem. William's got you covered there too. Were you a fan of the Scary Stories to Tell and Dark Book series as a kid? Want to learn more about the Solway Firth Spaceman? Well, if so, it's all right there. So head on over to William's Scary Things and check out his latest episodes and give him a like, subscribe to the channel, heck, leave a comment. Trust me, there's nothing to be scared of. That's right, man. Check out our friend William over at William's Scary Things for the paranoia world, the ghosts, the apparitions, the UFO, all that crazy stuff. Man, absolutely.
I listened to it the other night before bed, Nick. Didn't sleep at all that night. And I'm not a scary type. I was just looking for something to occupy my time before bed while I was playing solitaire. No. William, you're scary. Not like Richard Scary. William Scary is scary. He's
actually scary. You're right.
He's actually scary.
Yeah.
Not for me. But a lot of people like that stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's going to sound like a developing theme as we talk about the next
and for the
thing.
people that like that kind of stuff, that's the kind of stuff that people like, and that's going to bring up the AEW pay-per-view.
Yeah, Sting's last match. It's look, I know it's funny. Everybody's like, it was AEW Revolution, right? I'm like, yeah. Well, we're going to call it Sting's last match, just like Ric Flair's last match. Look. Overview first. Let's scrap it. Let's scrap it. Let's go to the straight. Look, people wanted to see Sting's last match. That's what people wanted to see. We are going to discuss after Sting's after the match. We'll discuss other parts of the pay-per-view, but I'll let you go first and share your thoughts because I think we have differing opinions on this pay-per-view as a whole and probably specifically the match in general. We have a lot of similarities in the actual match itself.
Okay, on the pay-per-view as a whole, it was not for me.
Okay, we're going to start at Sting's match, and then we're going to cover the rest of it.
Okay.
So let's start
with Sting's match. Like I said, Sting's match was part of the pay-per-view as a whole. It wasn't for me. I don't understand some of the things they did. I was looking to see a tag match. I thought it would be more of a traditional tag match, more traditional tribute to Sting. Sting's going to be, we're going to do the hot tags and all the traditional
But it was announced as a tornado tag.
A tornado tag, yes. You can have a tornado tag, Nick, without...
No, a tornado tag is everybody in the ring at the same time. Like, that was the whole point,
Yeah, but I wasn't expecting sheets of glass, and I wasn't expecting...
that's a different story.
Darby Allin going crazy, because I thought he'd keep it in line for Sting.
Pump the brakes. There's your first mistake. You thought Darby Allin was going to keep himself in check. That's not happening in a tornado tag match. But go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
And there was a lot of thing in there that I thought distracted from Sting's final match. There was a lot of stuff I thought was overdone. There was, Flair had a tag match for his last match, and it was bad because Flair was 90,000 years old, and Sting was in better shape, and Sting could have had a good match. And Sting had a good match. He no-sold a lot of stuff, which didn't make sense at times. Like, really, really no-sold. But he's Sting. So I get it. He's Sting. He's supernatural Sting. But I think at times the craziness took away. The broken glass, the tables, the ladder. Maybe CM Punk was right. Maybe you shouldn't use real glass. Maybe there's a reason. What if Darby had broke his spine?
The glass wouldn't have been the broken spine. The glass probably would have been the chairs and the floor that he smacked. Yeah. So that's a different thing.
What if he'd have broke his spine and it'd be like, Sting's last match? Well, it was also the match Darby broke his spine. What would you remember? Darby's paralyzed.
Look, there's already some people that are making that case just for that spot alone. That look, it's Sting's last match, and the thing that most people are going to remember out of that match are going to be Darby Allin diving off of that ladder and going through the glass sheet. That kind of seems, kind of counterproductive, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. But
does that take away from Sting's last match? I don't understand why you would book that on Sting's last match and take away from it.
Because Darby's going to Darby, for one. He wanted, I get, hey, we got to have something memorable, but not realizing like a lot of old school people were going to be like, it's going to be memorable because it's Sting's last match, like his
That's what
retirement
I
match.
tuned in to
Yeah,
see. I tuned in to see Sting
I
be
don't know.
Sting. I tuned in to hear Tony Schiavone go, "It's Sting, it's Sting."
Here's my thing. I don't know if there's been. I was going to say this match, but there's actually 2 matches on this pay per view. But this is one of the most conflicted, like as a wrestling fan, one of the most conflicting matches for me ever. Because there were so many things that I was like, they did this so good. I enjoyed the match, but I felt the Darby spot was completely unnecessary. Right? That shouldn't have even been there. But it didn't make me not enjoy the match. It was just like, okay, that shouldn't have been there, but whatever. I still enjoyed the retirement match. Last week I said I predicted Sting would win and they would retain the championships. But it goes everything against I say that, he should have lost, but they did the right thing. That sounds completely contradictory, and it is. So I was happy Sting won. I'm happy, but I hate the fact that we're getting a tournament for the titles. But that's the result of me getting what I want. Total contradiction, and it just, I can't even explain. My head just half the time wants to explode when I try to wrap my head around it. So lots of it, I really, really did enjoy it. Right, I can't explain it any better than that. That match, because focusing on that match, it delivered. It did deliver, and I went away happy with the ending. But there were so many pieces of it that I should not have liked or did not like, but it still didn't take away from the fact that Sting got to get what he wanted. That, to me, matters
If
more
that's
than
what
anything.
Sting wanted, I guess that's all that matters.
Yeah.
I guess the fact that I am a triceratops from the Cretaceous period when it comes to professional wrestling sometimes it shouldn't matter. If that's what made Sting happy,
Yeah.
and that's Sting got his sons out there, I'm sure that was important to him. There were a lot of bodies involved. There were Sting's sons, there was Ricky Steamboat, there was some old corpse that kept lying in the corner.
The Crypt Keeper, Ric Flair, was
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
By the way, double backpedal, you kind of brushed right past it. How cool was that moment as a father, for Sting's sons to come out dressed as Sting,
Yeah.
with Sting? I'm like, come on, that's again a moment where like helped override a lot of the shit that I didn't like in that match.
Yeah.
That I was kind of like, and then by the way, they got in there and got active.
Yeah.
And so Steven, who was dressed up as a tomato face Sting,
Wolfpack.
Yeah, well, red face Sting. Yeah, but Wolfpack Sting put on his social media, it was like, don't let dad down, like don't let dad down, jumps. And it shows him doing the stinger splash. It's kind of like, you don't want to let your dad down and embarrass him by doing it like really bad, and he did a good job. So, but like that's kind of thing as a dad, I was like, okay, that was super cool that he got to have that moment.
Yeah, I agree.
Negates this that I didn't like. There are moments where I'm like, oh, okay, he did this, negates the moment. So at the end, it's a net result of a positive for me that I really enjoyed and was happy.
Yes.
That, like I said, that he got to do a lot of that stuff on his terms. So, and what I want to ask you before we move past things, a lot of people were like, and look, by the way, I'm agreeing with this because I think we even said last week, we can knock AEW a lot, and we're about to. But we can knock AEW about a lot of things. How Sting has been handled there was not one of those things. No. Tony Khan did a great job. Look, and I'm sure Sting had a lot of involvement, a lot of other people helping. They did not drop the ball with Sting, in my opinion. And look, it's just my opinion. They did not drop the ball with him. And they gave him an ending that hopefully he seemed to be very happy with. And it was funny. Somebody said, thank God for, WWE fumbled and da-da-da-da. And I came back with and said, yeah, but if WWE doesn't fumble the ball when Sting's there, does he even go to AEW? Like, if they gave him the send-off he wanted in WWE, there's no desire to go to AEW probably.
Be happy for what you got, people.
Yeah.
You would not have got that in WWE at the time. Okay, it was in an era where it was still in the McMahon era, and McMahon wasn't doing that for WCW people. They fumbled that on purpose, I think. and you got this send off. You got the send off you wanted. Sting got the send off he wanted. It would never have happened if you'd got it in WWE. So,
Yeah, I'm
just
glad
be
he got
happy.
it. Yeah, absolutely. Now, fortunately and unfortunately, I guess might be the arguments, right? That wasn't all that was on the pay per view. So now we're going to get to the good, bad, and the ugly of the rest. I enjoyed the pay per view as a whole. I did. We had this conversation before we recorded. Obviously, I totally like the pay per view.
They're good parts.
Look, I've always joked. Look, I said it on WWE pay per views. I say it on indie shows that we go to. Typically, shows are 3-match cards. There's 3 matches I really want to see. The rest of it is all filler. And yes, folks, I will say, because any show you go to, there's going to be a couple matches that are not geared towards you personally, me personally, whatever. So it's going to vary. By the way, that's the great thing about about the circus, right, of wrestling.
Yeah.
That what you're looking for is not what I'm, and vice versa all the time. I wanted to see, which I did, the retirement match. We just talked about it. I wanted to see the triple threat for the title. Super enjoyed that. And then the curiosity effect was I wanted to see Will Ospreay and Takeshita go at it. And I saw that too. I absolutely, look, I love the story. I know you weren't into the triple threat as much for the title. I completely enjoyed it. Love Joe going over. Love the story. Hopefully they're going down the road. The show stealer, if you want to throw some quotes on there, let's take the retirement match out of the bubble and judge the rest among themselves. Ospreay and Takeshita. Okay, I should not have liked this match. There's lots of things about this match I should not like. This was the one I'm talking about being a contradiction of like what I typically enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of things about like that match I shouldn't have liked because it's so fast and it's, like, oh, I want to slow and blah, blah, blah. But when that match was over, I was like, okay, dude, that was really good. And that's all I can say about it. Like, I shouldn't, but this is their wrestling style. Like, this is their wrestling. And the best line that I heard that entire evening about this match was Conrad Thompson, and the post show that they did said, if you don't like this match or you didn't like that match, you need to stop watching AEW because this is their audience and this is what they're going to cater to. And if you enjoyed that match, you should watch more AEW wrestling because they're going to give you more of that, especially with the Will Ospreay there.
I could see good wrestling. I like good wrestling. It's just sometimes I need more story. I need to know why they're good wrestling. If I just want to watch quality wrestling, I'll watch New Japan. I don't understand what they're saying, so the storyline doesn't matter. But I like that 40-minute promo to start Raw. I like going to indie shows and understanding why the people are hitting each other. I'm watching AEW now. That was my thing. I hadn't been watching it. I've started watching it again as a journalist, if you want to call me a wrestling journalist, which is, one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. I'm paying attention to AEW and watching it. I can't get into the storyline. So when you have a good match, I just look at it as a good match. And it was a good match. But hopefully they do with Ospreay what they can. You said that he's their future star.
I do. I think he is their. I think he's, brace yourself, folks. I think he's better than Kenny Omega. I think as far as it's their vision of their company. It's what they do. They cater to a diehard wrestling fan base. And what I felt like I saw was a better wrestler than Kenny Omega with a little more with more personality than Kenny Omega. And I know that sounds weird. And then I just think he's got the growth opportunity because of his age. I think he can become so much better. I think he has the potential to be the guy. There's an MJF figure out there that probably can play into that, but we'll see where he goes and where he ends up. But he's, to me, like, he can wrestle, obviously, but I think MJF has already got the character side nailed down to the T. I don't think he's not just their future. He's there already. He's the present. And I think that's a thing that, but we'll see with Will Ospreay, but I do believe he is the future, of AEW, in my opinion. Anything else on the pay-per-view I want to get into? Speaking of their future, there's something else I wanted to talk about. And that was the post-media scrum. somebody asked Tony Khan about profitability, and we got a weird answer. He basically puts it out there saying that he kind of implied when, not if, when the new television rights deals are put out there, they're going to be such a substantial increase that they will be immediately profitable and will set them up for decades to come. So, do we think they have new deals already? And they just haven't been announced? Like, that's the question mark, right?
We'll have to see. I'll have to see these before I make a judgment. They're a private company, but they're dealing with publicly traded companies with these.
But they don't have to tell people that, though. I was not aware of that. Bischoff, in his conversation, was like, if they don't want anybody to know, they don't have to let people know. Like, when they happen, like, they don't, it's not like, no. So he's like, why would you let it out there in the beginning and take away any leverage you have in other areas, right?
So you're telling me that TNT, TNA, TBS, whichever network they sign, whatever's going on, they don't have to declare what they're paying AEW?
They can put out what they're paying them as a whole.
Oh, they don't have to break it down?
They don't necessarily. Now, will they get out there? Sure. Somebody's going to run their mouth and it'll probably get out there. But that's why when we talk about TV rights deals, a lot of times, and look, we'll see. I don't know. I first of all, Tony Khan speaking almost like it's done deals. So we got to find out, hey, are they done? Because if they're not done deals and he's trying to wish things into fruition, that's a lot of talk from somebody going, like, if the networks hear that and kind of come back and go, yeah, we never said that. I think this guy's probably might be getting a little too far ahead of himself. We might need to rein him back a little.
Sounds like he's been into some of that stuff The Rock was talking about. People
could be
into.
Could be, yeah. But look, it's simple. Like Eric brings up a great point. The cable upfronts are soon.
Yeah.
If they're a huge part of the growth of TNT and TBS, and they're going to be a focal, and they're going to get all this new money, you would think that they were going to be on the forefront, and they'll be out front with them. And
it'd be great.
It'd be sure. No, it's a great thing, by the way, for wrestling if it were to happen.
I really hope so. I hope they're successful. Okay, it's good for wrestling as a whole. They're adding pay-per-views. That's great. That's a good sign.
I disagree with that part, but go ahead.
Okay. Tell me why you disagree.
Look, here's my argument on. I don't think adding more pay. Look, let's be blunt. AEW Dynasty, April 21st, another pay-per-view added to the schedule. They're going to 12. That's just, it screams and feels like they're going to 12 pay-per-views. That's $50 12 times a year. I mean, like
$600. No network like WWE where I could just pay.
If the only way I feel better about 12 pay-per-views a year is if you're telling me they're going to be on an app at this point. It's not can, it's will, because this is a huge thing. If you're adding another show, a pay-per-view, because what was it, 4 or 5 hour pay-per-view fell? I mean, Jesus. We complained. By the way, I've been consistent on. When WWE pay-per-views were 4 and 5, I mean, like WrestleMania, like we got to the point where we were yelling, WrestleMania 7 hours is just too freaking long. And these pay-per-views are getting too long. If you're going to go to more and you go to I get like, hey, we got to justify people spending $50. All right. I get the theory there, but that's a lot to try to digest, right? $50 every month. It's not a can they. Here's the tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Will AEW fans pay for 12 pay-per-views a year at $50 a pop?
It's like they're forcing it almost. Like they're forcing to go to 12 whether they want it or not, or people will pay for it or not. It's like, well, we got to have 12. Who TBS, T all that, who's the bigger network that owns them? Are they
Warner Brothers Discovery owns all that. Yeah.
Okay.
So they would be Max. That's the Max app.
So why aren't they going to that? Are they not ready for that? Or does Max not want them? I mean, it would make sense.
We're shrugging our shoulders. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, nobody, I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. Like, I mean, it's if there is a threshold to where even if you're doing less pay-per-view buys per event, but you're doing more, it still could be a good business decision. It's just how far of a drop do you get across the board?
Maybe that's
you know,
the
type
TV
thing.
contract they're talking about. Maybe that's what's going to set them up for decades. Maybe getting on their maybe they're getting their pay-per-views on Max is what's going to save them.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't. That's like I said, that's a whole other thing to get into. But look, they're not the only ones making changes to TV schedules and things
like these changes. I like these proposed changes.
The rumor comes out that TNA may be looking to move to Full Sail University. This is one that's hard to answer right now, but is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Is ultimately the question.
It's got a lot of potential, depending on how they do it. But then again, they kind of cut off if they're going to sail to Full Sail, they got rid of their captain for this ship. So I don't think they've got any guidance. You know, they were talking about live TV. What's the benefit of live TV in Florida?
I mean, that's what we talked about. Like, if it's cutting costs, okay. But if you're doing is it live really helping you? If you're not touring, is live helping you? Because if you're live and the same crowd's coming over and over, Eric brought up a great point. Bischoff brought up a great point. You're literally going back to what you did in Orlando at the Universal tapings. You're just doing it at Full Sail.
Yeah.
Now it might be. I don't know how much is it easier. Because here's the thing: at they were getting people that were in the park coming in to take a break to watch. At Full Sail, are you getting people have to come to it to see it? You know what I mean? Yeah. So maybe that's a little bit different. But are you getting any? It's going to be a lot of the same people coming over and over and over again.
Now NXT did great with the Full Sail model. They got production help from the students. It worked out real well. It cut costs. They left due to COVID mainly, and they also got full control when they moved to the WWE facility. I think it would be good if you're going to cut costs for pre-recording your television. Florida, great place for wrestling. Great place for everything like that, entertainment. People come down there, you record a month's worth of television. The wrestlers are then free to pursue independent wrestling bookings. If they're not, if they have to be down there once a week for live TV, then they have to travel every week unless they live there. And then they're only really free when you consider what independent bookings pay to pursue independent bookings in Florida.
But it doesn't interfere because if they're live on Thursdays, it could help if you could take independent bookings on Friday and Saturday in Florida, where a lot of promotions run.
Yeah.
Or Georgia, because then you're going to be catching a plane out of Orlando / or Atlanta.
Atlanta's a great place for wrestling.
Yeah.
Georgia, I think, in my opinion, has the best wrestling in America, independent wrestling. But I think it would be a benefit. I'd have to see. And getting rid of D'Amore is another questionable decision. I don't understand still.
Yeah, you got all this momentum. You got the pay-per-view buy rates are up.
Yeah.
You got all the momentum. You got all the stuff, the positive stuff going on. You let D'Amore go, and you're going to make this move, because supposedly D'Amore was a fan of this idea too. So I'm not real sure what's going on in that whole. That's a whole other conversation for another day.
Do you think they're getting ready to sell TNA? Maybe not.
But if D'Amore offered,
D'Amore's
said
offered,
no.
But maybe somebody else sees, a bigger company sees a value in it. Maybe
I don't know, man.
Maybe
here's the problem. Look, D'Amore was going to offer them $10 million and take the debts. Because here's the thing: if you're not, Eric brought up a great point when he was talking. This is when he tried to buy WCW. If you don't give them TV, the company's only worth there's a couple rings you own and some production stuff and that's all. I mean, it's a few assets. I mean, contracts are liabilities; they're not assets. I mean, there's some people that look at it like, oh, it's an asset. I got this guy, this kind of talent. Yeah, but you still got to pay the guy. So, I mean, that's to me as much of a liability as it is an asset.
Ooh.
So so for him to say I'll give you $10 million for some rings, and so I'm like, there had to be TV involved. That it's really layered out. That's a difficult one, but look, time will tell what's going on. But Myron, you talked about indie wrestling.
Yes.
So this week in general is a very busy week for us. But Friday is going to start our weekend. Obviously, look, there's a potential. We're recording this on Wednesday. There's a potential we may go to Dynamite tonight. It's literally 25, 30 minutes down the road. We may or may not. We're going to figure that out after we get done recording. But I definitely know where we will be. And Friday, we're going to go to Canton and see our friends up at Southern Honor.
Attention wrestling fans, join us Friday, March 8th for SHW 60. Live from the Action Building in Canton, Georgia. The Jake the Snake Legacy Champion Chip Day and Hollywood Hunter James have chosen each other's opponents in the Pick Your Poison Challenge. The two most dominant factions in SHW continue their war as the hierarchy takes on the in-game and six-man tag team action. And in our main event, the bad blood boils over as the Killbilly and Tank finally get their hands on Sunny Days and Sal Renaro when Coven of the Goat faces Happy Madness in a death match. Also in action, the Buff and Fluff Connection, Kyle Matthews, the Washington Bullets, the Wall, the 7'3" Giant Chosen, and more. Plus, after the controversial ending last month, where do things stand with the SHW Tag Team titles? Find out when Southern Honor Wrestling returns to the Action Building. Tickets start at just $15 and go on sale at the door the night of the show beginning at 5 p.m. Doors open at 7, bell time at 8. As always, kids 10 and under are free. Find out firsthand why we are SHW and this is our wrestling.
That's right, man. We'll be there on Friday. I know you're jacked about this card, man.
Oh, God, yeah. I don't know how independent wrestling is where you are, people, but on the average Friday and Saturday night in Georgia, I have to pick a show. I have to, it's not like I have to find a show to go to. I have to pick a show. The competition for shows, Saturday night, there were so many good shows going on that I had to pick through all of them to find the one I wanted to go to the most. Not the one I wanted to go to, but the one I wanted to go to the most.
Right.
That's how good it is. That's how good it is. There is so much. Now, look in your area. That's your homework, people. That is your homework till next episode, till you listen to the next episode. Look around and find the independent wrestling in your area.
We try to make it easy. Phil Stamper has an email list that goes out, and I credit him, by the way. I copy and paste that list on our Patreon and try to do it on our YouTube channel. YouTube says that sometimes it's too long. How crazy is that? Like it's got to be 2 parts. But yeah, trying to actually make, it's easy for people to go like, look through there. It's got the cities, the da-da-da, all that kind of stuff, the days and the times, all that stuff on there. So it's not like we're trying to make it easier for you to find good wrestling in your area for sure, man.
We went to Southern Fried on Saturday. God, I love Southern Fried. It is so good, but I could have gone to other good wrestling promotions. And a lot of our favorite talent was in Dothan for the NWA show. How insane is that? And then Friday, we're going to get all these people that were a lot of people that were in Dothan for the NWA show. They're going to be in Southern Honor.
Yeah.
And that show's incredible. Look at that card, Nick. It's insane.
Yeah, man. Look, In-Game, Hierarchy, Gunnar Miller, Hunter James, Chip Day, Adam Priest, Happy Madness, Covenant of the Goat, Washington Bullets, Buff and Fluff, and The Chosen, all like advertised on that card. And look, it's going to be lots of great stuff, and we're going to dive into look, next week we do record, not this week, we'll be recording Tapped In. We'll have a lot of in-depth into those as well. But that's not the only show that we're going to this week.
Oh.
We are finally packing up the Tapped Out Mobile and heading down to Augusta for IWE.
Augusta, Georgia. IWE returns March 9th, 2024 with Never Say Die. All the IWE superstars come together to witness the contract signing between Tim Blackman and Caleb Kitchens. This and much more at the American Legion on 90 Millage Road. Doors open at 6:30 with a bell time at 7. Get your tickets now at iweonlinetix.ticketleap.com.
That's right, man. Heading down to Augusta for the first time to catch IWE. Been trying to get down there for a couple years, to be honest. But
gonna see what the hype is all about, Nick.
Yeah, man.
Got a strange looking card. Doesn't look like what we're used to. Got a women's tables match. Danny Jordan right here. I never can remember which finger to point because that's backwards of me. One of my all-time favorite women's wrestlers in Georgia versus Lindsay Snow, who's next to her 8x10 on the wall there. Great women's wrestlers in a tables match.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Buff and Fluff versus the Exotic Youth. Shug D versus Alex Kane. Charlie Anarchy versus Skrilla. Hierarchy versus the All-Star Special. Been a while since we caught All-Star in person, so that'll be a cool catch-up with them.
Guys.
And then a triple threat in a women's division to actually determine who will be the next number one contender. Lots of names advertises. We don't have matches for yet. Rob Killjoy, Colby Corina, Hunter Young, White Mike, Billy Brasho, and I got a feeling we'll probably hear from the new champion, White Mike, there. Guessing he'll be talking a little bit. But again, look, excited to be heading down there, man. You know, we haven't seen it in person. Obviously, we watched it on IWTV and stuff like that, and caught some of the stuff on their YouTube channel. But look, I'm just jacked to see them in person, to be honest with you. It's been and see so. But he heard me mention, Myron, their YouTube. Well, you can also go on while you're there. Check out our YouTube at youtube.com. The handle is @TappedOutPod. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, turning notifications, all the good stuff on, because look, you can become a member there and get the show early too, just like you do on our Patreon page. All the bonus content behind the paywall. But look, I got it. Traditional podcast listeners, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon Music, podcasts, all that good stuff. We appreciate the people that subscribe to those as well. Give us a 5-star rating and review if you feel so inclined as well. But always remember, we're honest. Everything doesn't make it to the audio feed. Everything could be public. Not everything is public on the Patreon as well, but everything at least is there and on the YouTube channel as well. So that's why our preferred home, as we also tell you, look, the Tapped In show and the Tapped Out show both are on the audio feed, but everything is available on the YouTube and on the Patreon.
If you're listening to the audio feed while you work, take some of your hard-earned money and go over to Pro Wrestling Tees and buy some of the new Tapped Out Wrestling shirts. Yep. I'm wearing a Pro Wrestling T-shirts. They just had a big sale. I bought a bunch of new shirts. Can't wait to see them. I got some of the new design coming in. Can't wait to see what those look like on me as the official model of the Tapped Out clothing line. So, guys, check it out. Get over there, buy some of our clothes, support us. All proceeds go to continuing supporting the great
keeps the show going, as we like to say. It keeps the show funded. So how about that? Yeah. But man, look, like I said, lots of stuff going on. We look forward to seeing everybody out at shows this weekend, whether it is Friday in Canton, Saturday in Augusta. Come up and say hi if you're there. I think Saturday we're all going to be together. It'll be Heath is going to be with us again, so it'll be me, you, and Heath both. Nice. All three of us there. So
nice.
Yeah, absolutely. So, anything else before we get out of here, man? Or
I'm good for the day.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.